There exists a quiet strength within every person, though many never fully discover it. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not demand attention, nor does it announce itself with spectacle. Yet its presence determines the direction of a life. This strength is discipline of the inner world. Most people attempt to change their lives by adjusting external conditions. They rearrange circumstances, chase opportunities, or attempt to control events outside themselves. While these efforts may bring temporary improvements, they rarely create lasting transformation. The true turning point in life begins when a person recognizes that the inner world is the true command center of existence. Every action originates first as a thought. Every habit begins with a mental decision repeated until it becomes automatic. Character itself is nothing more than the accumulated pattern of these decisions over time. When the mind is undisciplined, life becomes chaotic. Emotions dominate judgment. Temporary impulses override long-term wisdom. Energy becomes scattered across countless distractions. But when the mind is trained with discipline, something remarkable begins to occur. Thoughts become clearer. Decisions become stronger. Actions become deliberate rather than reactive. The disciplined mind does not eliminate challenges. Life will always contain difficulty. Instead, discipline changes the way a person responds to those difficulties. The undisciplined mind reacts immediately. It seeks comfort, escape, or blame. The disciplined mind pauses. It observes. It chooses. In that pause lies tremendous power. Because the moment a person begins choosing their thoughts instead of being ruled by them, they step into authorship of their own life. Consider for a moment the individuals throughout history who achieved extraordinary influence. Philosophers, leaders, innovators, and builders of great ideas often shared a common trait that remained invisible to the outside world. They governed their inner lives with unusual discipline. They guarded their attention carefully. They refused to allow trivial distractions to dominate their thinking. They trained themselves to focus on meaningful ideas while letting lesser impulses pass without reaction. This ability may appear mysterious, but it is actually a skill developed through consistent practice. Just as a muscle strengthens through repeated exercise, the mind strengthens through repeated acts of conscious direction. Each time a person resists a destructive impulse, the mind becomes stronger. Each time a person replaces worry with constructive thinking, the mind becomes clearer. Each time a person chooses patience over anger, they reinforce a powerful inner habit. These small victories are rarely celebrated. They occur quietly within the mind. Yet they form the foundation of personal mastery. The world often praises dramatic achievements, but the deeper truth is that dramatic achievements are simply the visible result of thousands of invisible, disciplined thoughts. A person who learns to guide their mind learns to guide their future. Without this internal structure, even the greatest opportunities may be wasted. But with it, even ordinary circumstances can become the starting point of extraordinary outcomes. Inner discipline turns potential into direction. Direction, sustained over time, becomes destiny. Many people assume discipline is harsh or restrictive. They imagine it as a form of rigid control that removes freedom from life. In reality, the opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom. When a person lacks discipline, their life becomes controlled by immediate impulses. They are pulled constantly by distractions, temptations, and emotional reactions. Their attention shifts rapidly from one desire to another. Such a life may feel exciting in short bursts, but over time it produces confusion and instability. The disciplined life, however, operates on a different principle. It places long-term purpose above temporary impulses. It recognizes that meaningful progress requires consistency. And it understands that freedom is not the absence of structure, but the mastery of it. A musician becomes free through disciplined practice. An athlete becomes powerful through disciplined training. A thinker becomes wise through disciplined reflection. The same principle applies to every area of life. Discipline aligns the mind with purpose. It trains attention to remain focused on what truly matters. Instead of reacting to every passing impulse, the disciplined person directs their energy toward chosen goals. This direction produces momentum. Momentum produces results, and results reinforce confidence. Over time, a remarkable shift occurs. Discipline no longer feels like effort. It becomes identity. A person who once struggled to control their thoughts now naturally chooses clarity. What once required intense effort now becomes an instinctive way of living. This transformation does not happen suddenly. It grows gradually through repeated acts of inner guidance. The practice of inner discipline begins with awareness. Before a person can guide their thoughts, they must first learn to observe them. Most individuals move through life without recognizing the constant stream of ideas flowing through their minds. Thoughts appear automatically, shaped by past experiences, habits, and emotional patterns. Without awareness, these thoughts quietly influence decisions and actions. But when awareness is developed, something powerful happens. A space begins to appear between thought and action. In this space lies choice. A thought may arise filled with doubt or frustration. In the past, such a thought might have immediately produced discouragement. But awareness interrupts that automatic process. The disciplined mind notices the thought, examines it, and chooses whether to accept it. This single ability transforms the entire structure of personal growth. Instead of being controlled by mental habits formed long ago, a person becomes capable of consciously selecting which ideas deserve attention. Over time, this selection process reshapes the mind itself. Constructive thoughts are strengthened through repetition. Destructive thoughts weaken through neglect. Gradually, the mental environment becomes more stable, more purposeful, and more resilient. Life's circumstances may still fluctuate, but the inner foundation remains steady. This steadiness allows a person to navigate uncertainty with confidence rather than fear. And in a world filled with constant change, such steadiness becomes an extraordinary advantage. The true reward of inner discipline is not simply success or achievement, though those may eventually follow. The deeper reward is self-respect. When a person learns to guide their thoughts, act with consistency, and remain loyal to their principles, they develop a quiet confidence that cannot be easily shaken. This confidence does not depend on praise from others. It grows from the knowledge that one's life is being directed intentionally. Each disciplined decision strengthens this foundation. Choosing patience when anger would be easier. Choosing focus when distraction calls for attention. Choosing purpose when comfort suggests retreat. These choices accumulate day by day, gradually shaping the character of the individual. Over time, the disciplined person begins to recognize something profound. They are no longer reacting to life. They are participating in its creation. Circumstances may still present obstacles, but obstacles are no longer interpreted as defeat. They become opportunities to practice resilience and wisdom. Through this process, the mind becomes both architect and builder. The future becomes less dependent on luck and more influenced by deliberate thought. And the individual discovers a truth that philosophers have recognized for centuries. Master the inner world, and the outer world begins to change in response. Such mastery is not achieved overnight, but it is available to anyone willing to practice the quiet power of inner discipline. There is a moment in every person's life when they begin to realize that the greatest battles are not fought in the world outside, but within their own mind. Circumstances may challenge us, people may oppose us, and events may appear unfair, but the most decisive factor in our experience of life is always the way we respond internally. The disciplined mind understands this truth. It recognizes that reactions shape outcomes. When frustration is met with patience, clarity begins to appear. When fear is examined rather than obeyed, courage begins to grow. The mind gradually becomes less reactive and more deliberate. This transformation does not require perfection. No one maintains flawless discipline every moment of every day. Instead, progress comes from awareness and correction. Each time a person notices a negative pattern and chooses a better thought, they strengthen their ability to guide their mind in the future. The process may seem small in the beginning. A single better thought, a single calmer response, a single decision to focus rather than complain. Yet these small moments accumulate quietly, building a foundation of inner strength. Over time, the person who practices this begins to notice something extraordinary. Situations that once created stress now feel manageable. Problems that once felt overwhelming now appear as puzzles waiting to be solved. This is not because the world has changed, it is because the mind that interprets the world has changed, and when the mind changes, the entire experience of life begins to change with it. One of the greatest benefits of inner discipline is the ability to maintain direction during uncertain times. Life rarely moves in a perfectly straight line, plans shift, opportunities appear unexpectedly, and challenges often arise without warning. Without inner discipline, these changes can create confusion. People become discouraged when progress slows or anxious when outcomes are unclear. But the disciplined mind operates differently. It understands that progress is rarely visible in the early stages of effort. Seeds planted today may take months or years before their results appear. A person guided by discipline does not abandon the process simply because immediate rewards are absent. Instead, they trust the direction they have chosen. They continue taking consistent steps forward even when the path ahead is not fully visible. This consistency becomes one of the most powerful forces in human achievement. While others start and stop repeatedly, the disciplined person continues moving steadily forward. Small efforts repeated daily begin to produce large results over time. A single hour of focused effort may seem insignificant, but an hour repeated every day for years becomes thousands of hours of progress. This is the quiet power of persistence. It rarely receives attention in the moment, yet it ultimately separates those who merely dream from those who steadily build the lives they imagine. Another aspect of inner discipline is the careful management of attention. In the modern world, attention has become one of the most valuable resources a person possesses. Every day, countless voices compete for it. Messages, news, entertainment, and endless streams of information all attempt to capture the mind. When attention becomes scattered, clarity becomes difficult. Thoughts remain shallow, decisions become rushed, and meaningful ideas struggle to develop. The disciplined individual recognizes the importance of protecting their attention. They learn to step back from constant stimulation and create moments of quiet thinking. In these moments, the mind is able to reflect more deeply. Ideas become clearer. Priorities become easier to identify. Decisions become more thoughtful. This habit of intentional thinking allows a person to move through life with greater purpose. Instead of reacting to whatever demands attention in the moment, they choose where their attention should go. And where attention goes, energy follows. Where energy flows consistently, growth eventually appears. Patience is another quality strengthened through inner discipline. In a world that often celebrates speed and instant results, patience may appear outdated or unnecessary. Yet nearly every meaningful accomplishment requires time. Skills take time to develop. Understanding takes time to deepen. Trust takes time to build. Without patience, people often abandon their efforts just before meaningful progress begins to appear. The disciplined mind learns to remain steady through this process. Instead of rushing toward immediate rewards, it focuses on steady improvement. Each day becomes an opportunity to move slightly closer to a desired outcome. Over weeks, months, and years, these small improvements compound. What once seemed distant gradually becomes reality. Patience does not mean inactivity. It means sustained effort combined with trust in the process. The individual who practices patient discipline discovers that time becomes an ally rather than an enemy. With each passing year, the results of consistent effort begin to reveal themselves more clearly. Perhaps the most profound realization that comes through inner discipline is the understanding that personal growth is never truly finished. There is always another level of clarity to reach, another habit to refine, another idea to explore. This realization transforms discipline from a temporary effort into a lifelong practice. Instead of seeing improvement as a task that eventually ends, the disciplined individual begins to see it as a way of living. Every experience becomes an opportunity to learn. Every challenge becomes a chance to strengthen resilience. Every success becomes motivation to continue growing. In this way, life itself becomes the classroom. The disciplined mind approaches each day with curiosity rather than frustration. It asks questions instead of assuming answers. It observes carefully instead of reacting quickly. This mindset gradually expands a person's understanding of the world and their place within it. And with greater understanding comes greater wisdom. At its highest level, inner discipline leads to a sense of calm confidence that is difficult to shake. This confidence does not come from external approval or temporary success. It comes from knowing that one's actions align with one's values. When a person acts with integrity, consistency, and thoughtful intention, they develop a deep trust in themselves. They know that regardless of circumstances, they will continue moving forward with clarity and purpose. This quiet confidence becomes visible in the way they speak, the way they work, and the way they respond to life's challenges. Others may notice it as steadiness or reliability, but internally it feels like a peaceful certainty that life is being guided in the right direction. The journey toward this state begins with small steps of awareness and discipline. Each day offers the opportunity to choose thoughts carefully, act deliberately, and remain faithful to meaningful goals. And through these daily choices, the quiet power of inner discipline gradually shapes a life of strength, purpose, and enduring wisdom.